now on an issue we've been discussing this morning. The calls for changes to childcare subsidies to be brought forward to help get more women into the workforce. Political reporter Steph Borys has been doing a deep dive into this issue and she joins us now from Parliament House. Good morning, Steph. So the higher childcare subsidies for more families are going to be offered from next year, but now we're starting to hear this growing call for that to actually be brought forward.
That's right, Lisa. The reason that there's this growing call for it to be brought forward is because you've got a few issues. You've got the gender pay gap is actually widening at the moment. We have many businesses saying they can't find enough skilled workers at the moment. And also there are, growing cost of living pressures as well that are facing many families. So what the proposal is at the moment is these new childcare subsidies will come into effect from July next year. It means that any family that has a combined income of $80,000 will get 90% of their childcare fees back. Those subsidies decrease as a family's income increases, but basically anyone earning as a family up to $530,000 a year will get some form of subsidy. But as I mentioned, they don't come into July. And we've got advocacy groups and unions now saying that's just too far away, given we've got these issues around cost of living pressures, workforce shortages and the gender pay gap. There was one woman I spoke to, for example, Lisa, she's spending $1,200 a week on childcare for two of her kids to be in care. And she says that's just something she can't keep up long term. There was another woman I spoke to that said she voted Liberals all her life, and then at the election campaign she heard the Greens were suggesting universal childcare, and so she voted Greens for the first time ever. So just giving you an indication of just how, how much this issue means to so many families and that it's stopping many women from going back to work full time. Now, I spoke to the ACTU President, Michelle O'Neill. She says this isn't just about getting women back in the workforce, but it also helps the economy more broadly, because if women are working more hours, they're paying more taxes, and also then they're building up their super sooner, they're getting back into the workforce, they're keeping their skills up, so there's opportunities not just for these families, but for the broader community.
If we lift that up, then that money goes back into the economy. Those women pay tax. There's an advantage overall in terms of our economy if we have more women working. So it's short-term thinking to think that it's going to be cost only. It actually ends up paying for itself.
So what does the government say to that?
Well, the government has been asked on a number of occasions, will you consider bringing forward this policy? The answer so far has basically been no, the reason being because the budget isn't in the best situation, and as we know, the government is trying not to spend too much where it doesn't have to, given the current situation of the budget. But that said, as I've mentioned, and Michelle O'Neill mentioned as well, this is a plan the government was always going to put into place, and bringing it forward 6 months, many advocacy groups and unions believe is better than waiting those 6 months. However, this morning Social Services Minister Amanda Rishworth was on News Breakfast and once again didn't really indicate that the government would move on this at this stage.
This is one of the many issues about women's workforce participation that will be explored at the Jobs Summit. This is, I know, an issue that Minister Clare and Minister Ali are working very hard on to make sure that we get the settings right. We, as an opposition and as a government, have recognised the impact that the cost of childcare is actually having on workforce participation. So we've made a clear commitment around that.
Now, Lisa, it's not just about the childcare subsidies for families, but also the fact, do we have enough early childhood educators? The answer to that question at the moment is no, and that's something that both the federal and state governments need to look at, because you need to have enough staff in order for these children to be able to be cared for at these centres. There are long wait lists in some areas. And just finally, before I head off, one more fact which is quite staggering. Australia, when it comes to women, is one of the most educated places in the world for women, but when it comes to economic participation, so the number of women at work, Australia is ranked about 70th worldwide. So there's a real difference in those figures, and another reason why this matter is one to be looked at.
That is very telling indeed. Steph, thank you.